Welcome back, wannabes and creators, to another episode of The Business of Art, the podcast that attempts to demystify business for artists. And today is the third panel from Long Beach Comic-Con. This is the How to Build an Audience from Scratch panel with Barbra Dillon from Fanbase Press, Madeleine Holly-Rosing from Boston Metaphysical Society, and Nick Marino from Sorry, I can't say that word. It's a bad word. No, he's from Holy Fucked and a bunch of others. And I put this panel together very specifically. I wanted to have somebody who was in the press, and that's Barbra Dillon from Fanbase Press. She also runs her own publishing company. I wanted somebody who built their career, or a lot of their career, through crowdfunding, and that's Madeleine. And then I wanted somebody who built their career, a lot of their career, through having other publishers. And that is Nick. They've all done multiple things, but that's sort of why I put them on the panel. And a lot of our panel talks about how to deal with cons, how to stand out even if you are an introvert, and a lot of the ways that you can build an audience, even if you're not like me. I'm very outgoing, I'm very boisterous, but I wanted to bring people onto the panel that have varied experiences and ask them very specific questions. So this is not a long rambling conversation. Most of it is very pointed. I'm a little bit dictatorial when it comes to how a panel goes. And I think that works out in the favor of everybody. Panelists don't get to ramble. Audience members get the most information at any given time. And I hope that you get a lot of value out of it. Before we get into this episode, I want to remind you that we have all of our hard lessons, ranterludes, and Kickstarter mini-seasons available with no commercials at thebusinessofart.us/volume1. Look, our RSS feed is only 20 episodes long, which means if you've been paying attention the last couple of weeks, it's all freaking Kickstarter stuff. However, we've covered so many topics in the past 100 episodes. Everything from how to create an audience from scratch, to Kindle, to contracts, to how to set up your own podcast, to depression, and everything in between. And they are all on our archives page at thebusinessofart.us, except that it is super janky. It's hard to get around. So what I did is I created a course that has no commercials, that's easy to navigate, over at thebusinessofart.us/volume1. And if you go to that course, you get all of it, no commercials, none of this BS, just value for just $20. That's over 8 hours of content for $20. Over 70 episodes for just $20. So head on over to thebusinessofart.us/volume1 and check it out today. If you're interested in our archives, it's the best value around, because otherwise you're going to be spending hours trying to navigate our janky website. Now let's get on with the show. Before I do, don't forget this is a live show, so the audio is a little bit janky. The value is incredible, but if you can't get over the jankiness of the audio, just move on to the next one. It's okay. There's plenty of less janky or not janky at all ones in our archives, and we won't have another live episode for at least another couple of weeks. That being said, let's start. Take it away, everybody. Let's talk about how to build an audience from scratch.
Cool. You guys asking questions? Yes.
How do you keep showing off your comic without it being
annoying?
Yes. I'll be happy to take that. Hi everyone. First, I'm Barbra Dillon. Hi. I am the editor-in-chief of Fanbase Press. And we've been around for about 6 years. As Russell very kindly mentioned, we're both a publisher and an online community. So we provide support for other creators through reviews, interviews. We have a podcast network. And we also just are always happy to answer questions. You can always email me. I brought my cards in case anyone has questions. You can always email me. I will always respond. But to answer your question, it was once told to me when I was first starting out that you should compare your use on social media or any platforms when you're trying to promote yourself as if you're at a cocktail party. When you are at a cocktail party, you don't want to be that guest who's always very loud and boisterous and only ever talking about yourself. I'm doing this and I'm doing that. Really, you want to be building a relationship with people. You want to be getting to know other people, helping them, promoting them. And then once you've done that, you can say, oh, by the way, I'm working on this. And then there's that relationship built. There's that kindness built in, which is something that we always want. We always want to be kind, not just because it helps you in business practices, because it's good to be kind. It's good to be a good person. So if you can think of it like that, if you're using social media, every single post that you do on your Facebook page, your Twitter, your Instagram doesn't have to be about you. It can also be about reaching out to other like-minded creators or fans, answering questions, and then, again, oh, by the way, here's something that I'm working on. So I like to think of it like that.
Awesome. I want to hear what you two also say with introductions, but I want to make sure we're recording. Are we recording?
We are recording.
Fantastic. All right, so Nick, I'd love to hear what you had to say.
Hey, I'm Nick Marino. I wrote these books. We'll say it's called Holy Fudge and Holy Fudge. And my next book is called Cougar and Cub, but I started out making zines and stuff like that. And I would say that, Barbra, she hit the big stuff, right? But like something that I would add on to that is you can get away with saying more about your book if you're sharing a lot of your friends' stuff all the time too. So if like you're sharing your stuff maybe a few times a day, but you're sharing other people's stuff like 10 times a day, all of a sudden it doesn't seem like you're only talking about yourself. It doesn't seem like you're annoying or anything. It seems like you're just really passionate about not just your comics, but other people's comics too. And I think that makes a big difference. Plus you build a little bit of community around that and you gain friends that way, which is pretty awesome, right?
I love that.
My name is Madeleine Holly-Rosing. I'm primarily a writer. I've ended up becoming many other things in the process of delving into the comic book world. I am the writer-creator of Boston Metaphysical Society, and also Kickstarter for the independent creator, which to my knowledge is the only book that is directed toward crowdfunding towards the independent creator, specifically for those of us looking for a funding goal under 10K. I also do lectures on it. I agree with both Nick and Barbra. I know what I do now. I know when I first started, you're so passionate about your stuff. You're always going like, me, mine, all the time on social media. And as you mature in social media, yes, you have to grow out of that. And I have pretty much a habit now, particularly on my Facebook page. I will post at least 3 things that have absolutely nothing to do with me. It could be just be a cool article. It could be about writing. It could be about steampunk. It could be just something I found that was interesting. And then I'll maybe post something about myself, like, oh, by the way, I'm going to be at Long Beach Comic Con, or I have a new review up. Occasionally you will run into you'll have runs of things that are about you just because of the way that the cycle works. A lot of things have come up, so you do that, and then you post other people's. I post other people's Kickstarters, and from the very beginning on Twitter, I've always generously retweeted other people, and particularly other creators, and talked to them, and to emphasize a nice way, there's a lot of subgroups within Facebook, like comic book writers, comic book everything. And just to start a conversation of like, okay, I'm looking into, I'm looking for a printer.
Yeah.
Can you help me find a printer? Can you give me some recommendations on a printer? Or getting a banner for my stand, or I've never worked a con before, it's my first con, can anyone give me some helpful hints? That's a great way of introducing yourself, and then all of a sudden people are just piling on with, oh, you gotta do this, and they'll refer you to all this stuff, and there's this whole thread based on this one question, but you've just met like a dozen other people, and you can always go back and say like, hey, I saw you mention this one thing about this printer. They're in Texas, how does that work? Or if they're overseas, how does that work? Can you explain it to me? And guess what? You're building a relationship, and if you're lucky, you might also end up with a friend.
Absolutely. Love that too.
My name is Russell Nolte. I run Wannabe Press and the Business Art Podcast. And just so you know, assuming the audio is good, this will be on my podcast, The Business of Art, which is on iTunes, Stitcher, and a bunch of others. I'm going to give a little bit of context to the things they say in business terms and give you actual hard numbers. Generally, 1 to 10. If you post one thing for yourself, do 9. It used to be 3 to 1. It's better to do 10 to 1 now. The second one is I'm literally doing a Kickstarter now, so all of my wonderful friends have a bunch of posts about my Kickstarter. However, even with me posting a lot, I post a lot more of other stuff. And that comes from a concept that will relatively change how most people think. Most people think of being sales first. I need to make a sale. Here's a book, buy a book. The mentality that builds an audience and builds empathy with an audience, builds people that want to buy all your books, is switching to a value-first mentality, which is I provide value to you, just like you said at a cocktail party. Here is an information for you. Let's engage in a conversation. The first question I always ask at my table is, do you want to see a cool comic? I'm selling all the things, but like when we talk, now the conversation is, oh, you want to see a cool comic? What kind of comic do you want to see? Here's something, and we're engaging in like me providing value to somebody, even though at the end of the day, I'm putting a book in their hand and the end goal is to read it and buy it. When somebody says, I don't have money, I always say, I'm not asking you to buy it. No obligation. All I'm asking is a simple question. Do you want to see a cool comic? Do you want to talk about comics? What kind of things do you like? Just like you said at a cocktail party. The easiest way you know what the easiest way for you just talk about yourself? Anyone now? No one want to venture a guess?
Ask somebody else about
Yes,
themselves.
exactly. The easiest way to get somebody to ask you what you do is to ask somebody, what do you do? It is the reciprocity of, you talked about you, well, even if they don't want to, they will say, and what should you do? What do you do? It's the easiest way is to give value to somebody else. The third thing, the last one that I'll see before we move on topics, is when you launch a product and you have a product, you're going to inundate people with your product. And I call this, lots of people call this, so before you do that, you need to make deposits into the Goodwill Bank. Just like you would in any bank, because you're going to be making withdrawals from it, often. Especially when you're running a crowdfunding campaign or you're launching a book or you're at a con, you're going to be posting about yourself and talking about yourself a lot. So before you do that, you need to build up goodwill. And this is an ebb and flow. Like, you need to give, and then you can take, just like in a bank account. You hope that over time, you're building up way more goodwill than you're taking out, and then you now have a ton of goodwill. Maybe you could launch 2 products. Of course, if you come with that value-first mentality, you will always be providing value, even if you are taking, withdrawing from that goodwill. So, I want to ask my first question to the panel, but does anyone have a question for the panel before I do that? All right. So, if you do, think about it, groove on it. We have plenty of time. My question to you, Barbara, we'll start with you again, is you go back to day one.
Yes.
What would you do to build an audience, to start building your audience from scratch today?
Well, when we started, first we were called Fanboy Comics and not Fanbase Press. And this year we rebranded because although in our actions, in our mentality, in our approach, we were always about inclusivity and positivity, we just got to the point where we felt, this doesn't outwardly represent those motivations. So we rebranded our entire company, all of our books, everything, to Fanbase Press this year. When we started with one graphic novel called Something Animal. And while we were doing that as an independent creator, you guys all know it takes a little while to do the art. So we thought, let's build our audience now. And we did it by starting a website and reviewing other people's content. And honestly, with everything that we're talking about, while different things may have varied slightly in our approach, I would do the same thing, because I feel that for me, my motivation for getting into everything that I do is about helping people. Above all else, I love helping people in everything that I do. In my career, I have a day job. Other than this, I work in the mental health field. In my second job, which is running a publishing company, I love helping people. So I think I would do exactly the same thing. I would build an audience kind of by building what you said, Russell, building a well of goodwill by getting the word out about other people and giving people a platform to have a voice to do creatively what they do as well. So
Barbara was the first positive review I ever got. I still have gotten dozens, if not hundreds of reviews to this day, and I will never forget the first positive review. And I'm guessing that you have a relative cornucopia, a very deep well of independent creators who can say the same, that you've built that goodwill to, that if you needed them,
yes,
they would be there in a second, correct?
Well, that's
I hope so,
very
hopefully.
humble to say that. Yeah. But I and my colleagues are very fortunate to have built a great community of friends, colleagues, associates through doing this. So I count myself lucky that I've met you, and Madeleine became a contributing writer to our company based on your work with your series, Boston Metaphysical Society.
Yeah, because you did one of the first reviews for Boston Metaphysical, and then on the advice of another mentor, and this is part of the branding process that I did. One, website, that's pretty mandatory. I worked even before, because we started as a webcomic and then we went to print. I just went to cons and I went to panels and I handed out postcards and I talked to people, and I got on social media and I talked to people, and that's how we slowly built the brand, going not only to Comic-Cons but also to steampunk conventions and becoming an integral part of the steampunk community, as Anastasia knows. She's but one of the things I did was I knew myself I needed to learn more about the comics community and comics in general, because I was new to comics at the time. And so I said, I need to start doing reviews and reading more and educating myself. And so I did a little review. I submitted it to Barbara and I said, is this something worth publishing? And she read it and she went like, yeah. And, and so I started as a guest contributor, and now I'm a regular contributor. And now I guess some of my reviews get pulled for blurbs on people's comics now, which, that is part of establishing my brand within the community. And that's taken, 3.5 years, but it was worth it. It's been a lot of fun.
Right. So I want to get to Nick, but I want to speak one thing to this, which is, and I'm going to go me, you, and then Nick.
Okay.
All right. So most people come, and one of the first things is, how do I get more press? It's one of the things that I hear over and over and over. And one of the best ways to get more press is to become one of the press. Almost every site needs contributors.
Yes.
And by having contributions to a site, you build authority, you build bylines, and you build search results with the people that will want your comic eventually. Do you say that's accurate?
I would, absolutely. I mean, it's interesting for me, having been on both sides of the aisle. I, as a publisher, have submitted to countless press websites requesting reviews, and likewise I have tons of independent creators contacting me from all mediums, not just comics, but TV, movies, theater. I mean, we do countless types of reviews, but I think the interesting thing for me is perspective and knowing the challenges that it is to be someone contacting someone for reviews, and likewise what it is to have the challenges of someone contacting you for reviews. So it's always about perspective, and it's always about being kind. I could tell you horror stories of emails that I get requesting reviews, and I that would be like a whole nother panel of suggestions. But absolutely, it's always about reaching out to people. But again, going back to the same thing that Russell had talked about, it's about building goodwill, and for me, it always comes back to being kind. Because when you're reaching out to someone to request a review or to request some sort of press, whether it be a podcast interview or a written interview, you're asking something of someone who, more times than not, is doing this for free. As I mentioned, have a day job. All of our contributors write for free. They're doing it of their own free will and volunteering to do so. So it's good to remember to do that when you're asking someone for a review. Yes, you feel 100% in love with your content and you are sure it's the best thing anyone has ever read, but you're also asking someone to take their time to give up their time to review it, to talk about it. And it's good just to keep that in mind when you're reaching out to people.
Empathy is a powerful thing.
Empathy is a very powerful thing, yes. So.
Nick, what would you go about? Same question. If you could go back, how would you build your audience from scratch starting today? Would you do the same thing, or would you do something different?
I started 9 years ago podcasting, and I thought at the time I really wanted to grow an audience. I really wanted to build people who came to me as a source of information or whatever, and then that moved to comics, and I thought of it the same way. But I think if I had to do it all over again, I would focus more on making friends instead of making fans, and focus more on starting a conversation rather than trying to find an audience. Because you can have a lot of people paying attention to what you're doing, but really it's the people who are interacting with you about what you're doing that not only is meaningful, especially when comics in particular are not they're not a very high margin business unless you're really doing something different, let's say, than everybody else, and you really strike gold or something like that. So you really gotta those interactions really sustain you, and when you make a friend, they often become a fan as well. So then you have somebody that not only is your peer, but they're also your supporter, and that's a really special thing to have. And I feel now I'm really focused on doing that, and now I'm passionate about doing that. But if I had to start from the beginning, instead of thinking that people should be listening to me, I wish that I was thinking that people should be talking with me, or I don't know, us creating
something together.
Exactly.
Right. So, as I mentioned, I'm doing a Kickstarter right now, and it's got 56 contributors, and it's raised $1,500 about. And I just did a panel about Kickstarter versus self-funding, which you'll also be able to find on my show. Hello again. And one of the things that we've been going back and forth all week, people very vehemently against Kickstarter, people pro Kickstarter, and one of the things that came out was, aren't you sick of asking your friends to back projects? And I was like, no, because to me, if people are into my work, I've probably connected with them, I hope, either at a con or at a place we've had an engagement. So to me, that line between is Nick a fan of my work or is he a friend of mine doesn't really exist. It's just,
doesn't matter.
Do you want to see some cool thing? Yes, then buy a book. You don't want to see a cool thing, move on with your day. But I agree with all the things that you guys said, which is making connections and giving value is it's so powerful. It is the most powerful thing, I think, of all the things. I have a second question, but before I do, I want to ask anyone else have any questions about what we talked about? Yes.
Nick, you said you started with zines. How did you distribute those?
Poorly. It kind of depends on the community you're in. So at that time, I was on the East Coast, which has a different sort of DIY culture, when it comes to zines and comics, and the two communities are very intermingled, and there's just a lot of little pop-up zine shows there and stuff, whereas here, after making zines for 10, 15 years, I got rejected from the Long Beach zine show when I applied to it, which is nothing, I'm not saying anything against anybody, I'm just saying it's a little bit maybe more, I don't know, official, or maybe it's a tighter-knit community and I wasn't a part of it, so maybe that's why, but I just kind of tried everything. I don't exactly think there's a wrong way to do something. And also, when I started, it was a lot less digital. Do you know what I mean? I started making zines in high school in the 90s, and those in the lunchroom, gave them out to people, And then when I made them in college, I just give them out to people I knew on campus. And then when I was going to the comic shop all the time, I'd leave a few at the comic shop, or I'd, do something like that. And then eventually somebody invites you to a small show in a community center and you sell 5 copies and you're yeah, I sold 5 copies, I'm the boss now, and then that takes you to conventions and stuff like that. But you could try that way if you want to go back to high school and stuff, but I think the thing is just like I was saying about starting a conversation, just print up a bunch of zines as cheap as you can, and then go to a convention, start a conversation with somebody at the table and be like, hey, do you mind if I give you my zine? That's a great way to start doing it. You could try to put them into a shop and do things like that, but honestly, you're going to sell like one copy in a year, and it's going to be on consignment, so you're going to get 50% of what it was, so you'll get like $1 or something. Like, what's the big deal, you know? It's more meaningful when you make a friend by giving them your zine. So go to things that are community-based and just share.
And I think that zine community, not that the comic community isn't big on like sharing books, but it costs $15 to like print and then market and then get a comic book. So it's a lot harder for someone to give, like to do an exchange. But I found things like Zine Melt, which is that Meltdown,
that's really good.
Patchwork, the Long Beach Zine Fest, especially if it's like those little like Zombie Palin ones. They, like, people are willing to kind of exchange something.
It's just photocopies.
Yeah, because they want to like we all want to find cool stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like this is about.
We like art.
Yeah.
That's why we make art, right?
We like cool things, and if you get a cool thing and you go to the right locations. So all of you guys are kind of in the. Sorry, does anyone have another question before I ask the next thing? So every one of you is relatively high in the does a lot of cons.
So high right now.
There's a lot of I was gonna say a lot of big high in the con community, but like you guys do several cons a year. Can you talk about how
Con every day, baby.
con? I mean, I do 40. I'm on 41 this year, so
That's way more than me.
But like,
That's nuts. I think you have the record.
I mean, I want to do more. I do every weekend. It's the way I make money. I make 90% of my money there, so I'm going to go to as many shows as possible. Can you talk about? I found that when I started going to cons, I started making a lot more friends in the community. But then when I started tabling at cons, that really is when my career like really started taking off, and things started happening. Can you talk about how going and or exhibiting at cons, Madeleine, can help you build that audience?
I think it's critical. I think you absolutely have to be at a con, mainly because you as fans, you come here to see the creators. You want to be able to. This lovely couple here came to my table earlier, and had this wonderful conversation. And it's like, oh, you're the writer. You're the one who knows all about this stuff. This all came from you, and you organized, and you have the writer and everything. And so from the fan point of view, I think it's critical, particularly when it comes to Kickstarters, because to put quite bluntly, the folks who are willing to spend the money on you here will be the ones who will back you. And who are ready to plunk down the money here will plunk down the money. If they like your book, they've picked it up here, okay, you're going to go into another trade, another volume, whatever, they're more than likely, yes.
If you've made a connection.
If you've made that connection and they like your stuff, you've probably got a good potential backer there. And then from inside the community, you just start meeting your neighbors. And then your business associations just start multiplying because you're spending time with other artists, with other creators. You get to meet people. I mean, now I have people who offer if I'm going to run another Kickstarter, they're going to give me they will do a piece of art for me as their Kickstarter donation that I can use as part of a reward tier or a stretch goal. And that's because they've seen me work my ass off here for 3 years building something alongside them.
Yeah,
so,
and you see that what is nice, you also then get like sort of a coaching tree. If you watch sports, there's like the Popovich coaching tree where you start seeing the people that you met also like come up and then
that's really
again,
true.
You're building goodwill to those people, and they're seeing you as an authority.
Yeah, and you learn a lot. I still walk around and see how other people set up their tables. So I can see how I can set up mine better.
Right.
Because I like what they did. They changed that up. That's pretty cool. Maybe I can do that because I that's probably a more effective selling technique. And I'll talk to them about it. Always making sure not to take too much of their time.
Right.
The time thing is always critical.
So you can buy people's time by buying their book.
Yes.
So here's the thing: if you're gonna take time with a creator, buy their book. Just buy their book. Just like the stuff's valuable. The time, even if you don't like their book, it's important that you met somebody that gave you advice. You want to see if their advice is valid, so you should probably pick up their book to do market research. But I love what you said about walking the con, because you can basically steal all the best ideas, like with very little monetary investment. And be like,
Don't steal ideas.
I mean, not like the idea of it, but like how they best. Modeling success is very important. If you can model success,
Yeah,
you
definitely.
can then be successful. Barbara, I have a different question for you.
Yes, sir.
Still in the con scene, can you talk about the role of staying positive in a con
Yes.
instead of looking like a miserable sad sack behind a convention table?
Yes.
Because here's the reason I say that is a lot of people,
Yes.
to me, say they have not sold anything at a show.
Yeah.
But I've tabled near them, and I know that their conversation is.
They're just big grumps, man.
Well,
I know
that's
what you mean.
Or they do
that's
this.
You talk about- yeah.
Absolutely. So there's, I mean, you will never ever, you will always see me like this at a con. You will never see me like this. You will see me like this. I will never sit. And it really depends person to person. There are some artists who are so fortunate and so successful that they are constantly sitting and drawing because they're constantly doing commissions, which is wonderful, and they should be. But if you want to engage people, it's really about positivity and it's about body language. If you're sitting and you're sitting like this, I don't want to approach you because I'm nervous. And also, I've been to tables where I do the same as Madeleine. I like to walk around and get to know people, and fortunately, I get to walk up and down Artist Alley, and I see a lot of people that I've worked with, that I've reviewed their books, that I've just helped over the years, and it's a wonderful feeling. It's like, I don't know, going to a big family reunion every time you go to a convention, so it's really nice. But there are times that I will walk up to a table from someone that I don't know. They do not engage me at all. I say hi. I try to kind of elicit that connection from them, but it's as if they don't want to talk about their book. And if they don't want to talk about their book, then that makes me want to not know about their book.
Yeah, what are they doing there?
I don't know.
It doesn't make any
So,
sense.
Yeah,
but here's the thing I'll say. It's and what you say. It's really hard. I am an introvert. When I come here, I have to take at least a half an hour to myself because I am so anxiety ridden about having to be on for the next 10 hours or however long the con day is. I just get really nervous, and I have a really hard time being open and talking to people. And when you're at a con table, that is your job. For the next 10 hours, you're on, you have a smile on your face, hopefully a genuine smile, because it's better to be yourself and be genuine. But you really want to engage people. Russell has a great selling technique where because I listen to your podcast and I come and see you at your table, but you say, hey, do you want to check out a cool comic? Mine is, I just say, hey, how's it going? And I just engage people that way.
But you're not out, like, the difference between her and me is I will yell at everybody. If you pass my table, I will ask if you want a cool comic. And when I talk to people, they say, I could never do that. And I'm saying, okay, well, you know who's a great person who literally just smiles, doesn't outreach, but just smiles and waits till you come to a table and then talks is Barbara. She still has the same positive attitude, but she's not literally asking everyone, you want to see a cool comic? You want to see a cool comic? Like, I swear, just sit in 5 minutes with me. Like, I feel so bad for the people that always sit next to me. And I tell them, I'm like, I apologize in advance, but I got to make rent. So, like, I'm going to ask every single human being here if they want to see a cool comic, and you will memorize my pitch by the time it's done, and I hope it works.
He is a madman like that. But what's interesting is that then the people who are maybe like a little bit like, who are not as like in this like salesy stuff, if you're more quiet, they'll like drift. I exhibited next to them at Kamikaze. They like kind of drifted over to my table. I was like, okay, we got a good dynamic going now. It's like bad cop, good cop.
Well, to me, it's about a sales funnel. Like, life is all about a sales funnel. All that matters is you put enough people at the top of the meat grinder that they funnel through, and at the bottom, you make sales. If you need to make more sales, you need more people at the top. Once they're in there and you have like a kind of functioning funnel, you can do things like, well, instead of one person buying, I want 2% buying. And then you know, okay, well, if I have 100 people going and it takes one person to buy, well, if I can get 2 people to buy, I've just doubled my sales. Now, if I can only talk to 50 people to make a sale, I've now doubled my sales again. But until you have enough volume of people going to the top of your meat grinder, you're not going. It's hard to determine what sales are going to come out the bottom.
Well, I have something to add to that. With practice, your own natural sales style will emerge.
Yeah.
And it will constantly evolve, and it will change from con to con depending on the dynamics of the con, depending on what we know as aisle dynamics, how people are filtered through, who is next to you. I will admit that the last 2 years I've been exhibiting at San Diego Comic-Con, but before that, my husband and I were, I call civilians there. Instead of working 10-hour
You and your cities.
Yeah, we got to go and enjoy it instead of working 10-hour days. But I would be kind of mean because I know how hard I work at a table. So I'll walk it down small press. She's probably seen me do this. And I'll walk down and I'll basically test everyone on their pitch. And I'll go, pitch me, pitch me, pitch me. And
I've done that. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, it is fun, but it's mean.
No, it's a good it's a learning tool.
But it is a learning tool. For one, I can learn something from them,
Yeah.
and it's two, they need to do this.
That's true. They can learn
They
from you.
have to do this, and that they would get my sales. I mean, for those, if people were like, oh, I'm reading something here, and weren't engaging or something, or not even trying, but if they got out there and say, hey, this is my book, I'm proud of it, I saw their passion, I said, okay, here's my $10.
Well, you're relatively sure that if someone knows their pitch down cold, they probably this is buyer psychology. So I don't want to offend anyone, but if you have your pitch down in the buyer's mind, you are more likely to have a good book. If you do all these things and hit all these triggers, and you can pitch it with passion and you know what you're talking about, like if you have a great cover, you probably have a good book. You got a good interior, you probably got a good book. Like no one's going to spend, if you go to 40 cons a year, it's a pretty good chance you've got a good book because no one's going to waste the time, energy, and effort for at 40 cons if their book sucks. So you can do these things to stand out.
Russell
at
has
a
really
con.
good books, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I want to add one thing to what you say and then have a different con-related question for you. What's great, the mistake that most people have pitching, especially when they have multiple books on their table, is they don't lead the conversation. So the way to be successful at pitching is to know every outcome of what could possibly happen. So asking open-ended questions is not as effective as asking optional closed questions. Would you like to see a demonstration really quickly? All right. Oh, yeah. All right. You want to see?
He's a plant.
Sure, I would love to.
You like girls that kick ass or psychological mind screws?
Girls that kick ass.
All right. So that optional closed, he has now agreed twice that he likes the thing that I'm saying. So in his mind, he's already primed to potentially buy. That just alone will. Then he has so I'm either going to tell him about one or two. He can't say goats are fun. He can't, that's not an option. He's either going to say one, the other, both, or none. Or he's going to hesitate. Those are basically the four options.
Run away.
He could. But if he's engaged two questions, he's also probably not going to run away.
Probably not.
So then, if he asks me, if he says girls that kick butt, I'm going to hand him my most popular book. If he says both, I'm going to hand him my most popular book. If he hesitates, I'm going to hand him my most popular book. So I know the end result, and then only if he says psychological mind screws will I hand him this book. But again, I have led him down the conversation of pitching, so now you don't have to memorize 900 pitches. All you have to do is know, even if you have one book, you should probably also have art. Because then you can say, do you like comics or original art? And then you know what your bestseller is. The goal of getting a good pitch together is to know every outcome of the situation. And if you know every outcome of the situation, every once in a while I will get something that I don't know, but that's just a blown sale. That's a blown sale. I'm not going to make that sale. You can sit down. Thank you. So, yay. So anyway, to go back to, if you want to improve your pitching, but you're nervous to pitch people, the absolute best way to get better at pitching is to narrow your focus so you're only pitching, so that you only have to memorize two pitches. There's a 3 in 4 chance I'm going to hand you this book. So I really should be good at this book. There's a 1 in 4 chance I'm going to hand you this book. So like I need to know that. Regardless, it's just like a decision tree in a video game. It gives the illusion of choice, but there's really no choice. Like you always are going back to the same origin point. Additionally, if you ask a question, if you do ask an open-ended question, answer it. You like comics? Of course you do. That way they can't. Again, illusion of choice. If they hesitate, if they say no, if you ask, if you leave it out there, boom, they can answer anything. If you narrow the choices, you can get better at pitching very quickly. All right, sorry, that was a tangent.
It was interesting.
All right, so Nick, and I hope we're all cool with talking a little bit more about cons since we're all here. I assume at some point we're all going to go to cons. You're all planning on going to cons, making it a part of your strategy. Nick, what I love about you is...
I love you too.
I don't know about you who live in Long Beach, but still, we don't hang out.
Okay, Long Beach is way bigger than I realized.
It's a Long Beach, man. So what I love about him is his books are almost meant... His books are almost meant to draw an audience with just a banner. Like, literally, people walk by his book and see, holy, what the? And then just come to his, like, he almost, so if you're introverted, like Barbara, and Nick, and Madeleine, I don't know if Nick's introverted.
A little bit.
I don't know if Madeleine's introverted, actually, I'm just making an assumption. But if you are, then you can set up your table to draw as many people as possible, because if you can draw them with their eye, talk about how you do that to stand out.
Well, I don't do it on purpose, really. It just kind of happened. I have I'll show you what my banner. Oh no, I can't show you what my banner looks like. One of our variant covers is from this series. Is what I use for my banner, and it's a picture of Jesus, topless, skateboarding, with a couple of machine guns. He's riding a rainbow, and there's some other characters. Whatever. So, fortunately, my collaborator, Daniel Arudamasa, he's a wonderful artist, and so his art was really ripe for this image. And a lot of people walk by and they see Holy Fudge on the banner, and they laugh and they point and they show their friends, and their friends laugh and point, and then they're like, "Is that Jesus?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it is." And then they laugh some more and stuff. And then that's a great opportunity for me to tell them about what's going on in the story. And you know, a lot of times they're going to pick up the book after they find out what it's. If they cared enough to ask me, and then they find out what's happening, then a lot of times they want to get the book. But it wasn't something I did because I was like, oh, I'm going to snare them. They're going to be like my little rabbits in the comic book forest. I just made something that I wanted to see. I just made a book that if I was walking through a convention, I'd be like, could you tell me what this is about? Because I'm very curious between the title and the content. I'm catching on just walking past. And I don't know if that's actually a good instruction to give to anybody else, because I don't.
But it is, because you're your best client. This is another.
I do feel that way.
If you like a thing, there's a pretty good chance at least 10,000 other people like it too. And if you can get 10,000 people to spend $10, they give you a $10 profit margin a year. That's not a bad living.
You know what I would say? Like, I don't know if my taste is actually good, but why waste your time trying to guess what an audience wants when you could just make something that you like, that you're really excited to share about? Because that's why we're at conventions, because we like comics, right? Why not just make something that you can talk about all day long and not get bored talking about it?
Absolutely. All right. Those are 3 great different perspectives on cons. You guys got to have a question now.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Yes, her hand shot up, but then you.
I know keeping like a sales pitch is like, how do you keep the conversation going? Like keep them there, and also how not to end the conversation so awkwardly, like, oh yeah. I have that problem when I'm trying to talk to someone, and
you just run out of steam.
I want to keep the conversation going, but I don't know what to say next, and I don't know how to end it either.
All right.
I think Russell gave a great example earlier when he said, always ask them about themselves. People love to talk about themselves. I don't like to talk about myself, but I will happily talk about you for an hour.
Seriously, don't you want to know why they're at your table?
Yeah. I go to, I really like your earrings, and you never know where that will lead. And it's kind of asking those open-ended questions or comments, making comments. I really like your t-shirt. Where did you get it? Are you enjoying the convention so far? I can't tell you how many times in conversation I say, how's the con for you? Are you having a good time? Have you been here before? Is this your first time? Just really be genuine. Ask people about themselves that you might want to know. If you were sitting and having lunch with this person, what would you ask them?
I love that. That's great.
Yeah.
And I like to say, like, if I'm at the end and it's stalling and I'm seeing it petering out and it's just over the edge, that's when I go to, like, more over, what do you usually like? Like, are you here to see this or that? Do you prefer not? It's like, I'm just going to put
put that
down.
away,
You get the point.
And you learn a lot of cool things doing that too. Like when you get into those conversations with that person on the other side of your table, like you never know who that person is, and you can get a lot of great stuff out of that. A friend, a business connection, a fan,
I
anything
had a
can
publicist for DC Comics come and we talked for like 5 minutes. And like, those sorts of things are kind of important. Like, remember, one thing you should remember is like your goal to make sales. It helps sales because there's buying triggers involved. But like your goal, the best sales is to like treat people like a human being. Do you guys agree with that? Quickly, because we all want to get to this.
Yeah,
one.
just try to make a friend. It'll work.
Or even if they have kids, that's even better, because it's like, I just had a kid explain to me the whole concept of the rebirth
Right.
in DC, and it's like, and his dad's going like, I know none of this, and I just had the kid go on. I said, I could have talked to this kid all day.
I
It
want
was
that kid to
awesome.
explain it to me. I don't know it yet.
It was awesome, but yeah, just little things like that,
Right.
and picking up on what people are wearing, and
Well,
is this
you're-
your first con,
Right.
and how are you liking it, and
Oh, that was a great one.
yeah.
I used to say, "Is this your first con?" And they say, "Yeah." Or San Diego, and I went, and I said, "Yes." I said, so let me tell you what you should look for in a con exclusive, because you want to get something, right? And then I would show them what to look for, and then emphasize the things that this thing has. It's exclusive. I've only got 1,000 left. I only brought 200 with me. I'll sign it. Da da da. You want to meet the creator? Like, you can actually make, like, asking them questions and mold it back into your pitch. So, yes.
When you want to start selling your book, should you make the title of the book something you think people would want, or how would you title your book to get more sales?
You need to title a book that's appropriate for your story.
Yeah. Don't worry about sales. What's your title?
Yeah.
Give it a title you like, because you're going to see that title a lot. And if you don't like the title, you're going to get sick of it.
Yeah.
Even if you like it, you'll still get sick of it.
I think for some, like, it's important. I do think it's important that your title conveys the thing that is inside the book.
Totally.
So often,
Has to.
especially like with with the cover for that book, you don't even need another image. Like, that is the thing. It tells you everything you need to know. But sometimes people will just put a cover of like 2 people standing back to back, something that is not indicative of exactly what's in the book. Like, Madeleine's another good example. Like, that is a thing. Like, it's steampunk. There's action. Like, the thing that's going to happen.
It tells you so much.
It's
It tells you so-
historical. I mean, even I spent some time on just the title alone because I wanted to use vocabulary that evoked the time period.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. Don't be afraid to brainstorm 100 titles.
Yeah.
Like, almost all my books end up going through that process.
But Nick also has one that he draws called Stick Cats. Do not know what Stick Cats is about. It's stick figures with cat heads. Like, that's
The
what
Stick
it is.
Cats.
That's
Like,
awesome.
Look, half of you laughed immediately from that title. You didn't even see it. It's a hilarious thing. Just from the title alone, you got it. And that is what is good on a book. You don't want to make a book that's like a DC cover, because that DC cover that has Batman on it, you could just have him walking by saying hello, and people will buy it, because like they know what Batman is. But you don't have that option. I saw your hand.
Well, first I just wanted to say, I'm on your mailing list. Yeah, like when I get an email from you, I'm like, hey, it's that guy.
Why aren't the rest of you on my mailing list?
So that's funny. I just wonder if you guys could share with us where in Artist Alley your booth paintings are at, so we can go buy your book.
We can do that. That's easy. I'm in J8. J as in J.
Artist Alley, towards the back of Artist Alley, on the far side of Artist Alley.
Yes.
I'm very close to Madeleine. I am I-10. I is an ice cream.
Yes.
But I don't have any ice cream. I'm sorry.
So disappointed.
I'm sorry.
I'm at C2, and there's a pretty good chance if Nick has any copies of his book, maybe he'll come up with me so you can buy some copies of his book. I don't know if he does. If he didn't, that's
Yeah, I don't have a table. I got
You
like
have a table, yeah?
I got like 4 copies, but if you're really interested, we can hang out at Russell's table.
And you should go on to Action Lab's website, because if he doesn't have any more copies, you can get it there.
Yeah. I don't even know if they're selling through their website. Go to Comixology.
Yes.
It's cheap.
Yes.
Boom. Okay, so we have time for very quickly, 1, definitely, 2, definitely, 3, if we have time, 4, probably not. Quick like bunny.
Promotional materials, walking away materials, how much time and energy do you invest in that? Like what, getting your here, take this if you want to know more, calling card or whatever, what percentage of that goes into that?
All right, 1-sentence answer.
Always, anytime someone comes to your table, always give something to them to take away that they can find you again. You don't need to put a lot of investment into it, but you should have something.
Nick.
Yeah.
A photocopy flyer about my comic that I made and cut out with scissors, and then a business card that are dirt cheap, and I order 100 of them at the time, and it costs $5 to get them. Because you know what? So many people are going to take your stuff, and only maybe like 1/20th of them are actually going to use them. So don't put a lot of time and money into it.
Madeleine.
I use a bookmark because people take it and they actually keep it and they actually use it.
That's better than my answer.
For me, not very much on the takeaways, but I spend a lot of time on my mailing list ones, which are like buttons and nice prints and things. All right, who's 2? Who would I say was 2? 2.
Well, it was more of a question for you. You said that you tend to be a little bit anxious.
Yes.
So how do you usually, I guess, prep yourself up before you take on like all these people, all these faces? Oh God, I have to talk about something. Ah.
Yes. I find someone that I know, and I start to talk to them first. And I feel a little bit more comfortable because I feel like there are people I know here. This is a safe space. I'm okay here. It's still challenging that first time that the person comes up. And Russell's heard my pitches a million times from Connie next to me, but I still have to go over them in my head and repeat them to myself. And it's just about finding that inner confidence in yourself. And I know it can be challenging. It can really be challenging. But know that it's in you, and it takes a lot of practice, and you can get there. You just have to really go for it and really try it. But you can totally do it.
You can definitely do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's just coming out of. My wife actually used to be a molecular biology or one of those genetic things.
I don't know what my wife does.
No, she was getting a degree in genetics, and she's like, I can't do this. I'm literally never talk to another person, and so she started like, would you agree that it takes time?
Absolutely.
Right. So most people think that when you see Barbara or me or anyone on this panel or anyone at a con, like they got that, like they like magically appear, but like this. While Barbara has an issue with like coming out of her shell, and like she's very likable to everybody that has ever met her, whereas I am very easy to come out of a shell, and everyone hates me. like my thing was I could come out of the shell, and I was very polarizing. Most people just want nothing to do with me, and that's not good for a con either. Like if you talk to a bunch of people and everyone's like, it's not good. So like, well, Barbara had to work on her. Well, Barbara has to work on her like confidence and ability to talk to people. I had to work for years on my non-dicitude.
Yeah, me too.
Right? Like the fact that my actual voice is like this. This is how I talk when I'm at home. This is what, like, when people now are friends with me, this is what I talk about. Like, it is actually painful to go half an octave higher. But I learned when I was at TELUS and doing phone sales that like people don't want to talk. People, the reason that females are more successful at a phone is it's easier to buy from someone who has a higher voice. I also, if you listen to my voice now, it's very not modulated. I actually actively work at modulating my voice.
Can I give one more thing?
Sure.
Because we do a lot of podcasting, and I'm also a voice actor. Listen to a lot of NPR, or listen to a lot. That's what I did. I listened to a lot of NPR, and I listened to exactly what it was that they do with their voices. Slowly
That's
speak.
actually true.
Yes.
Speak very slowly, because when you're anxious, like I do a lot, I speak really fast, but I don't know that I'm speaking really fast. So listen to your local radio stations, listen to NPR. I think that's the best one because they're so calm and methodical in their speech, and that really does help to kind of mimic what it is that they're doing that calms and slows their voice.
And that's good for that. And there's also, like, depending on your selling style, I more model on like the ShamWow guy. Okay, who's 3? I had 3.
Going back to your stations after this panel.
Yes.
What?
Going back to your tables after the panel.
Yes. I am.
Yes, I will force Nick to come up with.
I'll go hang at his table
He'll go at
for a bit.
C2. He'll come up.
I am. And Madeleine is. Are
What?
you going back to
You
your
going back to
table?
Yes, I'm going back to my table. JH.
We'll all pretty much be there the rest of the afternoon.
Yeah.
Not
Yes.
Nick. So if you want to talk to Nick, I'm not going to force him to stay around like all afternoon.
Yeah, I got
So-
another panel coming up soon, so
Yeah.
if you don't want to talk, come up now to Russell's table and we'll chill.
4. There was a 4. Is it 4?
How long on average for, I guess, the beginning of your con experience did it take before it became a sustainable kind of
That's a wonderful
So
question.
I guess I don't understand your definition of sustainable.
Profitable?
Emotionally?
continue with the con?
I know, but
sorry,
is that
I didn't-
profitability or is that like just emotional drainage?
Profitability, mostly.
So how long
I'm
until you guys
unqualified to answer
started
this
making money
question.
at shows? Before you made not too much money to not do them again, right?
I would
Yeah.
say with each year we put out another book, having more books at the table
Yeah.
was more profitable.
Okay.
Yeah.
I still work a full-time job though, so it's not, comics just aren't
Keep on dreaming.
sustainable financially. Yeah,
So-
if it's, there are wonderful things that Russell and Madeleine can talk about Kickstarter, which are very helpful. Some people do Kickstarter, they do self-funding. It really depends on your style, and both are viable. But I would let them speak more to that.
It became sustainable when my attitude no longer sucked. And when I was there to have fun and make friends, then I could not only emotionally sustain it, but I actually started to make a few bucks, and I would cover the table costs and cover dinner and cover transportation.
Would you say on top of, I want to get to Madeline, but would you say that it was, shit, I forgot it. I'll come back to it.
That's
But
cool.
Madeline.
How should I phrase this? I'm actually pretty good at what I do. I'll put it that way, with lots of practice and time into it. And I like to think that we have a very high quality comic. But yes, our overall gross has increased per year with each volume and with each book that we've been able to bring out. But yeah, I also work part-time and my husband works full-time. I think we've just reached a point where the comic is now sustainable on its own, not that we're making money off of it.
Yeah.
But the idea, Boston Metaphysical was never designed to be just a comic. It has always been designed as a transmedia project, which means there will be novels. In fact, I'm working on the novel now. There's already prose stories. I've had fans approach me to do RPGs and numerous other projects. And whether those projects go forward, of course, depend on partners. But this has always been seen as not just a comic, but a long-range project, so people can enjoy it in the way they would like to.
If I don't make 3 times my con fee, I won't do that con again. So like, can almost. And there's a couple that I do out of like the sheer love of it. Like I'll do this regardless because like I just love the whole attitude of this con.
It's good, yeah.
However, I got better as time went on, and I had more books. Like you can't be profitable if you don't bring enough to make a profit. So if you have floppies. Generally, you need sketch covers. Generally, you need original art, but you can't make. Once you have books,
That's a
most
good point.
people
Yeah,
say
books.
once
Yeah.
you have books,
It's a game changer.
yeah, they're like $30 a pop. These are so like. While I had to sell 10 singles, I only have to sell one of these or less of the soft covers. So like this, and then publishers make money on their back catalog. That is how all publishers from Simon & Schuster down to me and Barbara make money. The more books we have, because every time we do a launch, it increases the sales of all of our books and increases the bed of potential customers that we have for everything. I know we got to get out of here. No one seems to be stopping us now, but I want to make sure that we talk about our social media and our website very, very quickly so that people that aren't going to come up to our table can at least know where to find us.
Absolutely. You can find, if you want, I will be outside because I want to be respectful of the people coming in. I will be outside with my business cards. If anyone has questions, you're welcome to grab one from me, or you're welcome to come to the table if you'd like. You can find us at fanbasepress.com. Again, we do reviews, interviews, and podcasts with other creators. So if you're a creator of any kind, again, I go and do so many theater reviews, so it's not just comics. If you're a movie maker or a TV maker, I don't know what that is. That's kind of scary.
I like it.
But we're on Facebook. We're on Twitter at fanbase_press. We're on Instagram. We're on IMZ. The only thing we're not on is MySpace. So you can find us. I think so.
Nick,
All right,
Nick, where are you?
At Nick Marino. Find me on Twitter.
Madeleine.
BostonMetaphysicalSociety.com. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I'm on a bunch of other stuff, but not that often. So it's basically Facebook and Twitter. I don't have time. It run out of time.
That's a good advice. Pick a couple social media platforms
Yeah.
and work on those. You don't need to do every single one.
You can always grow to more over
Yeah,
time.
exactly.
And I'm at wannabepress.com, or more importantly, The Business of Art is on iTunes, Stitcher. It's got over 100 episodes. Both Barbara and Madeleine have been past guests on my show, which you can find on thebusinessofart.us. I apparently only have 3 cards for some reason. However, I have a bunch at my table, so I guess you're just going to have to come up there and see all the awesome books that we have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So that was the How to Build an Audience from Scratch panel from Long Beach Comic-Con. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got a lot of value out of it. If you did, go find Barbara or Nick or Madeleine or me online and let them know. And if you like this episode, head on over to thebusinessofart.us/iTunes/Stitcher/play and subscribe now. Also, rate and review us while you're there. It's the best way for us to find new people. We'll be back next week where we start our Sell Your Soul series, which is my next nonfiction book, and you're going to watch me construct it step by step on this podcast. That's going to be awesome. So definitely you should subscribe now, because otherwise you're going to forget. This stuff's not going to be Kickstarter related. It's going to be how to build your business related. There may be Kickstarter parts to it, but it's going to be how to take those parts and expand them into a truly successful creative career. So come back for that next week. Otherwise, I will see you next time, wannabes and creators. Have a great day.